Here's what's coming up on The World Today. Omicron variant prompts cancelled flights and new curbs on Christmas Eve. U.S. to lift travel restrictions imposed on 8 southern African countries. Plus, at least 37 people killed and 100 others injured after Bangladesh ferry fire. Hello and welcome to the program. I'm Teniola Shobowale. It's Christmas Eve and millions of people around the world are facing travel disruptions and increased COVID-19 restrictions over Christmas as a surge in Omicron variant sees flights cancelled and safety curbs tightened. According to the FlightAware website, global airline carriers have cancelled more than 2,000 flights so far. For more on how the COVID-19 pandemic is once again affecting Christmas, here's the global update.
In the United States, United Airlines and Delta Airlines have cancelled dozens of Christmas Eve flights as the spreading COVID-19 Omicron variant takes a toll on its flight crews and other workers. Daily Omicron cases have risen beyond the peak of the recent Delta wave, and hospitals are filling up across the country. In Australia too, thousands of festive journeys have also been affected, with more than 100 domestic flights from Sydney and Melbourne to other cities cancelled. In Europe, Catalonia, which surrounds the city of Barcelona, has banned residents from leaving their homes between 1 a.m. and 6 a.m. as it tries to tackle the Omicron variant that is driving up infections and overshadowing Christmas. Catalonia is the Spanish region with the most cases of coronavirus and is the only region so far to have imposed a night curfew. As Portugal battles a surge in COVID-19 cases, many Lisbonites woke up before dawn today to join long queues to get tested before Christmas Day celebrations. Long queues have also been seen outside pharmacies, and some people had no option but to leave the city to take a test as there were few slots available. Portugal, with a population of 10 million, reported 10,500 new infections on Thursday, the highest since January, when it faced its worst wave of the illness. The country has one of the world's highest rates of COVID-19 vaccination, with around 87% of people fully inoculated. In his Christmas message, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has urged the British public to get vaccinated. Prime Minister Johnson, who had previously ruled out new COVID-19 restrictions before Christmas, says he believed this year's holiday would be significantly better than last year's.
After 2 years of this pandemic, I can't say that we're through it. How can I, when Omicron is surging, where we all know we must together try to stop the spread of this new variant? We must test ourselves and take extra care when meeting elderly or vulnerable relatives. We know that things remain difficult. But for millions of families up and down the country, I hope and believe that this Christmas is and will be significantly better than the last in this vital respect. That we can celebrate together with those we love and raise our glasses to those who can't be with us. And if this year you need a bigger turkey and there are more sprouts to peel and more washing up to do, then that is all to the good, because these rituals matter so deeply. And I hope that people will enjoy this Christmas this year all the more keenly because of what we had to miss last year.
And finally, in Bethlehem, the traditional birthplace of Jesus, residents are faced with a less festive and near-deserted Christmas. Bethlehem was hoping to turn it into a Christmas shopping attraction with a post-pandemic wave of foreign tourists, but the Omicron variant dashed those hopes in November by closing down international travel.
The United States is to lift travel restrictions it imposed on 8 southern African nations over the Omicron variant. The White House says the measure affecting South Africa, Botswana, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, Namibia, Lesotho, Eswatini and Malawi would be lifted by New Year's Eve. Officials explained that the curbs are no longer necessary amid a U.S. explosion of cases of the Omicron variant. The variant now makes up most of all new U.S. cases, The restrictions were first imposed by the EU and UK. The US and a host of other countries followed suit. And in Kenya, the sudden decision to demand proof of vaccination to access public places and transport has been met with mixed reactions. The Health Ministry is going ahead with the mandate despite a court order that postponed it pending a hearing next month. The policy requires anybody seeking government services or entering public spaces to be fully vaccinated against COVID-19, while the government succeeded in inoculating 8.2 million people at the end of last month. This figure only amounts to 10% of the population.
The announcements to demand proof of vaccination to access public places and transport caught many by surprise, but comes amid a surge in COVID-19 cases in Kenya. Test positivity rates on Wednesday were nearly 30% compared to 0.7% on November 21 when the edict was announced. On Thursday, around 20 people stood outside a tented vaccination site downtown next to a busy bus stop.
It is not the first time that we have been here, but remembering that we had a sanction by Ministry of Health and the national government that after the 21st, we will not be able to access essential and government and public services. That is why we have brought the vaccines so that the community can access them with ease.
Nairobi resident Cliff Matanda doesn't agree with the government's decision.
I don't support it because I think it is supposed to be one's own initiative, one's own decision to go get vaccinated, because that seems like people are being forced to be vaccinated because you can't live without accessing government facilities, government services, public facilities. You can't live without that. So it's like people are being forced in an indirect manner.
Bus crews in the capital do not yet ask for vaccine certificates, but insist passengers wear masks and sanitize hands. Driver Sylvester Gichira welcomes the government's push for more people to get vaccinated.
It's good for people to take care of themselves. Safety starts with an individual. It's not a must for the government to put a directive.
The Health Ministry has said that proof of COVID-19 vaccination would be required by December 21 to access services such as schools, transport, immigration and other state offices and hotels, bars, restaurants, national parks and wildlife reserves. But a court in mid-December temporarily halted the rule amid uncertainty over who would police the edict or what to do about citizens unable to access vaccines. Around 9.2 million Kenyans have taken one dose of the vaccine, of whom 3.7 million are fully vaccinated.
The VOA's Mohamed Yusuf joins us now from Nairobi for more on this. Mohamed, thank you so much for joining us on the program. So why are officials going ahead with this vaccine mandate despite a court order postponing it?
Yeah, usually Kenyan government used to threaten this, and have always been successful in getting people what they want. But this time things might be a bit different. This is to do with health issues, and people may be really reluctant to go ahead and get vaccinated. But usually it's not a new threat. Kenyans are used to it, and at the same time, there are people who have followed government orders and have done what they want them to do. But again, of course, there are those set of people who know their rights and they follow closely what's happening in the country, unlike the court orders, and they believe now the court also has a right to stop the government in enforcing this kind of forceful vaccination. But of course, at the end of the day, there's also those Kenyans who they are open to things and they will always follow the government orders. And that's why we are seeing now more people getting vaccinated and the numbers going up.
Well, let's speak about the country's low vaccination rate, though. While the government succeeded in inoculating 8.2 million people at the end of last month, this figure only amounts to 10% of the population. What else are authorities doing to get more people to take the vaccine?
Actually, we're talking about 3.5 million people, Kenyans, who are fully vaccinated, and that's a country with a population of 54 million. And it shows you that that's a very huge gap. And we're talking about 51 million, 50 million people are not vaccinated. The government, one of the ways they're trying to push for people to get vaccinated is actually making those kind of threats that you're not going to get any services if you continue not getting vaccinated. And is one way they're doing it to push that. But also we have seen instances now, government trying to take vaccination centers closer to people. Just about 2-3 weeks ago, there was a political rally, and there were about tens of thousands of Kenyans who were gathering in that football pitch. And again, they made closer to people and they pushed people to get vaccinated. There's that sort of creating more centers for people to go and get vaccinated. They're pushing for that and also making those kind of threats. Generally, that's so far what is happening, and also telling people, look, now with more cases, people who are being hospitalized or getting in hospitals are people who are not vaccinated. That's a message that is being pushed, and many Kenyans now are heeding to that call, and they're trying to get vaccination, even if it's getting 1 dose of Johnson & Johnson, which in some way will protect them.
All right, so it's Christmas Eve. What's the mood like in the country, and how different are celebrations this year compared to last?
Yeah, a time like this, to be honest, I'll be having about 2 hours and I'll be going home. Now, because of that, December last year, for example, there was a curfew from 10 p.m. to 4 in the morning. That is all gone. Some sectors of the economy was closed, like bars and restaurants, and the number of people meeting in certain areas, public places or in certain gathering, it was very limited. Now that has doubled or tripled. Now it's an open economy, and it seems like the government is not willing or is very reluctant to introduce sort of lockdowns or restrictions. And now it's telling people generally, look, now this is up to you to protect yourself. And that's why we're seeing also, despite people low vaccination in the country and of course across the continent, different people are pushing for people to get to wear masks. And this is some of the things that are being pushed. But generally, the mood is good, and people are happy with the open economy. They are afraid because there are many cases, 30% COVID cases have risen the past few weeks. So people are afraid that the president will speak and the country will be shut down, but that hasn't happened yet. And Kenyans are very happy to go home and celebrate this festive season, of course, with a big number of people coming together.
All right, then, Mohamed, thank you so much for bringing us up to speed. To other stories now, at least 37 people have been killed and about 100 others injured after a packed ferry caught fire in southern Bangladesh. The blaze on the 3-decked vessel started mid-river near the town of Jalakati as it sailed from the capital Dhaka to the town of Baguna. Some of the victims drowned after jumping into the water. Officials say the number of casualties in the disaster is likely to increase, as many of the passengers have severe burns. As many as 500 people were reportedly on board the vessel. Two more Hong Kong universities have taken down monuments commemorating the Tiananmen Square massacre. The Chinese University of Hong Kong tore down a Goddess of Democracy statue, while Lingnan University removed a relief sculpture. Hong Kong University earlier removed a famous statue marking the massacre of students in Beijing in 1989. The Goddess of Democracy statue was modeled after the original statue erected by Chinese students in 1989 and paraded in the square just before the massacre. Hong Kong had remained the only place on Chinese soil where commemorations like these were allowed. In the mainland, Chinese authorities banned any memorials of the June 4 protests. And still to come on the program. Yes, it's that time of the year again as Nora tracks Santa as he sets out for his second Christmas during the pandemic. More details in a moment. Please stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. A Minnesota jury has found former police officer Kimberly Potter guilty of manslaughter in the fatal shooting of black motorist Dante Wright during a traffic stop at which she mistakenly discharged her handgun instead of her taser. A 12-member jury found Potter guilty of first-degree and second-degree manslaughter in the death of the 20-year-old who she killed in the Minneapolis suburb of Brooklyn Center on April the 11th with a bullet to the chest.
Manslaughter in the second degree, culpable negligence. We, the jury, on the charge of manslaughter in the first degree while committing a misdemeanor on or about April 11, 2021, in Hennepin County, state of Minnesota, find the defendant guilty. And the verdict on count 2 is we, the jury, on the charge of manslaughter in the second degree, culpable negligence on or about April 11, 2021, in Hennepin County, state of Minnesota, find the defendant guilty. And that verdict was agreed to at 10:30 a.m. Members of the jury, is this your true and correct verdict? So say you one, and so say you all.
And now in the Christmas spirit over in South Africa, music filters through the streets from a repurposed derelict building in Braamfontein, Johannesburg's business district. This is where little music stars are being shaped by a team of volunteers led by Nigerian Adeyemi Oladiran under the Music Enlightenment Project. We visited the school and also got a treat, their annual Christmas concert, which has been tempered by the COVID-19 pandemic for a second year. Despite the reduced numbers, their spirits were high. Our South Africa Bureau Chief, Betty Dibia, reports.
We found the music students of the Music Enlightenment Project rehearsing for a big concert.
Listen again. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 3.
40-year-old Adeyemi Oladiran and a handful of teachers began this project in 2009, and many students have passed through these doors.
What the project is about is we use music as a tool to redress past inequities. South Africa has a history of segregation in the past where certain population, were deprived of rights, of development, they were deprived of just so much. And music is one of the tools that even the government, identifies that can be used as a way of redressing these inequities.
Previously backed by donors, the lessons were free for the pupils, but the COVID-19 pandemic changed things in terms of funding and numbers. But the school has struggled on to keep its doors open for a small fee from the learners.
1, 2.
Well, you've seen the rehearsals, but today is D-Day, or concert night, for the very excited learners, and we're here to watch them show off the skills that they've acquired on this program. And proudly show off their skills they did, from solos to ensembles. Their families and friends who filled the house joined in at some points. The highlight for many was a national favorite, In the Jungle.
I felt nervous at first, but it takes a lot of courage for me to stand here and play for people. And doing this is actually a great experience and something I look up to every day.
The advice I would give is that if something is hard at first, you must never give up. You must just continue learning and soon you'll get it.
The highlight for me being here is that I'm able to grow as a musician and impart the knowledge that I've learned over the years onto these beautiful children. I think music education is a very big thing to invest in, especially in Africa as well. These children are very passionate about music.
And in the spirit of the season, the Music Enlightenment Project wished everyone a safe and happy festive season, hopefully filled with more music in more homes. From Braamfontein, Johannesburg, South Africa, Betty Dibia, Channels Television News.
And as the popular song lyric goes, Santa Claus is coming to town. For the second year running, Santa and his reindeer are braving the pandemic and taken to the skies on Christmas Eve to deliver presents to children around the world. And just as they have since 1955, NORAD, the Joint American-Canadian Military Command, will be tracking Saint Nick by radar throughout his journey.
I'm sure Santa is taking precautions. He obviously, when he's riding the sleigh, he's got to call out those commands to the reindeer, so he might have his mask off there so they can hear him. But I'm sure he's following the 6 feet away and wearing masks when he's around others and his elves, etc. Our understanding is, we have it on good authority, he might be immune to COVID, but he's still going to take the right precautions to make sure he get those presents to the kids.
And on that note, we wish you a very Merry Christmas. That's the program today. Thank you for watching. I'm Teniola Shoboale. Bye for now.